Germany is moving on in the Olympics, but we're still obsessed with one thing about Franz Wagner, why he is excellent, except for the one thing we need him to be excellent at. It's time for Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is July 30th. It will be July 31st, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Germany defeats Brazil to advance to the quarterfinals of the Olympics. And Franz Wagner has a game that shows us how much better he is, except for the one thing we need him to be good at. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. With summer in the depths of summer, sports stop sporting the way we like. Sure, we'll have college football and the NFL soon, but FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. As expected, Germany is moving on to the quarterfinals of the Olympics, defeating Brazil in their second game of the Olympic tournament. Germany with an 86-73 win over Brazil, a game that was a bit more of a struggle than that final score might suggest. It was a game where the Magic were better, or not Magic, Germany. That we like Germany a lot here. Germany was better, but obviously, that's not what Magic fans are talking about. I can scream and shout about how good Franz Wagner was in this game, and I will scream and shout about that here in a little bit. But everyone's eyes turn to one part of the scorebook. Franz Wagner went 0 for 6 from 3. And you take that with his 2 for 8 showing in Saturday's win over Japan, he is now 2 for 14 from 3. And the biggest concern everybody has about Franz Wagner, everyone's wringing their hands a little bit more. Look, it's a small sample. It's the FIBA line. It's the FIBA basketball. I don't know what to think of it. And I don't want to draw too many conclusions. I don't want to say that, oh, this is a problem. This is a concern. Yeah, it's concerning because Franz Wagner is really good. He is a potentially max level player. But the biggest thing holding him back, the biggest thing holding the Magic back is his 3-point shooting. We're going to go over the numbers. We're going to go over the stats just to give you that context. Franz Wagner had a career season last year, averaging 19.7 points per game, 5.3 rebounds per game, shooting 57% on 2-point field goals. His efficiency inside the paint, getting to the basket, doing all those things was incredible. I cannot state anymore how much I loved Franz Wagner's season last year and how good this guy is and how much room he still has to grow as a playmaker and as a scorer. But he's well on his way to ending one of my favorite streaks that needs to end. That the Magic have not had 2 20-point scorers in the same season since Penny Hardaway and Shaq in 1996. That streak is going to end next season. I will be on record on that. But after shooting 35.4% and 36.1% in his first 2 seasons in the NBA from 3, he shot 28.1% from 3. And that obviously became a problem in the playoffs, where he shot less than 30% in the playoffs. And of course, had the 1 for 15 showing in Game 7. We can't escape it. He can't escape it. This is a player in need of redemption. And frankly, there's only one way for him to get that redemption, and that is on the court, and specifically on the court in a playoff series. if there are people who have questions about Franz Wagner, have questions about what he can do, what he can bring to this team, why he is a max player, it starts with his three-point shooting. And the fact that Franz is missing open threes. It's not like he's up there these 6 3-point attempts he took in Tuesday's game against Brazil. It's not like he's standing there jacking up threes, like he's trying to complete a challenge on 2K. It's not like he's just taking threes indiscriminately. These are good three-pointers. Sidestep threes to get open. Spot up threes that are open. Kick out threes that are open. These are quality three-point shots that he has to make. And for him to be successful, for this Magic team to be successful, there is no avoiding the problem. Franz Wagner needs to make threes. Plain and simple, Franz Wagner needs to make threes. I can't say it or spell it any other way. Franz Wagner needs to make threes. I'll say it again. Franz Wagner needs to make threes. And while I'm not one to panic over anything, and I have so many people hitting me up saying, well, what do you think is wrong with Franz's shot? Is this a problem? Is this something to be concerned about? I don't think this is full-on panic time, because guess what? He's still doing a lot of really good things. He scored 17 points, trailing only Dennis Schroeder on the team for the game. He shot 7 for 16 from the floor, which means he's 7 for 0 for 6. He's 7 for 10 on 2-point field goals, 70% shooting from inside the arc. He had 4 rebounds. He had 3 assists. He had 4 steals and a block. Every other element of his game that he's already really good at, by the way, is better. I love how he gets down a hill, keeps a defender on his hip. Watch him. He keeps defenders on his hip, slows down, gets him to back up into him, and then explodes to the basket for shots. He's finishing through contact at a much, much higher, more significant rate. He is passing the ball, and his vision in the open court is so much better than it was last year. He had a couple really nice lobs to Daniel Tice, one that Tice finished, the other one that he didn't, and then actually another one that he did finish as well. He's got so many things that he's better at. His defense. I will start the campaign today. Franz Wagner has as good a shot at making the all-defensive team as any player on this roster not named Jalen Suggs. Like Jonathan Isaac, maybe he won't have the minutes for it. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is going to be – the Magic may not just have one of the best defensive backcourts in the league. They may have the 3 best collection of wing defenders in the league outside of Boston. I am not joking about this. I love what I've seen defensively from Franz Wagner. He looks like he's put on some weight. He looks like he's added some muscle. He looks like he knows how to use that muscle. I can scream and shout about all the ways Franz Wagner is better, and we will see all the ways that Franz Wagner is better when the season begins. I kid you not. But none of that matters if he doesn't make shots. None of that matters if he doesn't at least have that nominal three-point threat, that he can hit threes when left open. And look, he's a skilled enough shooter. He's going to have games where he hits 3 or 4 threes and we'll think he's okay. He's got to be able to sustain 35% shooting. I don't think that's a lot to ask. He's got to sustain making 33 to 35% shooting over the course of a 60-game period. I'm going to go just put a random number on that. This is the key to unlocking everything the Magic are trying to do this year. And so Franz Wagner is a better basketball player today than he was on May 5th. I have no doubt about that, having watched a couple exhibition games, including one against the United States and the first 2 games of the Olympics. He is a better basketball player today than he was in May when the season ended. But that's not good enough. That is going to leave us with more of the same, because the key to unlocking his value, the key to unlocking his worth, the key to unlocking this team and their potential is his three-point shooting. And while I am not one to panic, I'm not one to overreact to, a 2-game sample, 2 for 14 in 2 games. Not great, but whatever. It is concerning, and it is something that we all continue to watch, because we know how important it is for Franz Wagner to make three-pointers. And if he's not making three-pointers, I don't want to say this team is in trouble, But the chances of this team taking that critical next step forward, that decreases dramatically. Like I said, and I've been saying this for a while, Franz Wagner is a better player. Franz Wagner is really good at everything the Magic need him to be good at, except his three-point shooting. And that's going to be the skill that's going to determine whether this project works or it doesn't. Obviously, Paolo Banchero is not at the Olympics, but we all see a very good Olympic future for him. While Paolo is in line to rejoin Team USA for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, or maybe play basketball in a different format. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It is summer. It is the dog days of summer. It's almost August, and August is the deadest time of the NBA year. It's the deadest time, really, in the sports calendar. Yeah, we have the Olympics. When the Olympics end, we're just going to be counting down the days until college football starts, the NFL starts, and then eventually when the NBA starts. Please, NBA, give us a schedule. I know you're probably waiting for the Olympics to end, but please give us a schedule. But even if the sports are not sportsing like we want them to, FanDuel lets you keep it going whenever you want. All you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. Want to take a look at some of the early futures for the Orlando Magic? They got over-unders for the Magic at 47.5. You want to look at awards, conference winners, Magic, or division winners. The Magic are favored to win the Southeast Division this year. You want to look at awards. The award odds are already up with Magic players sprinkled in among the favorites to win awards throughout the NBA. This is your chance to make your big bet. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. For your next listen, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel, programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories in sports from the local experts who know their team best. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Obviously, this time last year, we were really pumped about Team USA, and we will still talk about Team USA because we are based here in the United States, and we will talk about Team USA. They're set to play South Sudan on Wednesday. But we're obviously, last year we were all pumped because Paolo Banchero was on Team USA, and I think some of us were a little disappointed. I am on record. I hate how Team USA puts their teams together. But I think some of us were a little disappointed that Paolo was not joining a team out in Paris this summer. Paolo, for his part, has been kind of public saying, I'm kind of glad I got the summer off, chance to work on myself, rest the body, kind of do my own thing. He's been going nonstop, not nonstop, but he's been going pretty hard since he was drafted. So we'll see what Paolo looks like when we get to training camp at the end of September. But obviously, we are all looking very much forward, even as we're getting through this Olympic tournament, to what's to come in 2028. And by the time we get 4 years from now, Paolo Banchero should be one of the best players in the league. 4 years from now, I think we can fully expect Paolo Banchero to be competing for all the NBA teams and, frankly, for the Orlando Magic to be one of the contenders in the Eastern Conference. In 4 years, the Milwaukee Bucks are not going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. The New York Knicks may not be the New York Knicks. The Boston Celtics may be ending their championship window. By the time we get to 2028, and I know we have a 2030 deadline because of what Alex Martin said, by the time we get to 2028, the Magic should be contenders for the NBA title. It should be a time for the Magic to be at the forefront of all the NBA conversations. And so it would make sense that last summer's trip to the World Cup is just a prelude for Paolo Banchero to join Team USA for the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. Obviously, 4 years from now is a long time. We still got the World Cup coming in 2027. There is still a lot of things to do and a lot of things to figure out, a lot of development and growth to go before we can even begin thinking about that team. And yeah, LeBron might still be around in 4 years. Who knows? It's going to be a very attractive Olympics because of the city. Look, LeBron, Steph, KD, all those guys are not in are playing for Team USA this summer because they wanted to go to Paris. If these Olympics were in Tokyo like they were 3 years ago, if these Olympics were somewhere else, I don't think it would have the same attraction that these games have. Just like Los Angeles is going to be a major attractor for stars. But in 4 years' time, Paolo Banchero should be one of the big stars in the league. And because he's already now part of Team USA and part of that program, he should have a place, or should certainly be, as Grant Hill is planning out what the next 4 years of USA basketball look like. Paolo Banchero's name is certainly at the top of the list. And, along with Anthony Edwards, he'll still be around. Along with Tyrese Halliburton, he should still be around. Along with Bam Adebayo, maybe Joel Embiid, probably not though. Paolo Banchero's name, Cooper Flagg will probably be there. Chet Holmgren may be there. Paolo Banchero's name should be at the top of the list, because if you're watching these FIBA games, if you're watching these Olympic games, you're noticing how valuable versatility is and how much you have to be able to move and play and create from any position. It is so vital with the size on the interior with a lot of these teams and the ability to play zone and the shorter court, how you have to be able to muscle through physicality to be successful. Steve Kerr, and hopefully Steve Kerr is not the coach in 4 years, because I think all of us who've watched USA basketball the last two summers are not super impressed with the work that Steve Kerr has done. Jamal Mosley would make a great Olympic coach, but that's neither here nor there. Sorry, that thought just sprung up. Now I lost my train of thought. Steve Kerr tried Paolo Banchero at center last year. And while that wasn't a great idea to help the team win, using Paolo as the backup center, the fact that Paolo was able to play that role, the fact that they trusted him enough to play that role, shows the versatility that he has. When you look at these teams and these games that they're playing, Sunday's game against Serbia, the U.S. opted for size. They traded away some versatility for size, playing Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo together against Serbia's bigger lineups with Nikola Jokic and Nikola Jurisic and Nikola Jovic. That is a luxury that the U.S. wants. But Davis and Adebayo, as good as they played really well. And Anthony Davis should be starting, to be perfectly honest, on these teams over Embiid. As well as they played, they lose some offensive versatility with them out. Paolo Banchero is the kind of player that can provide that versatility. And when we come to FIBA, the name of the game should be versatility. It should be the ability to do everything. LeBron has been super successful in FIBA play because he can do everything, because he can run point, he can defend the perimeter, defend the paint. And obviously, like he looks like the best player on Team USA, or he's acting, he's kind of taking the reins as if he is. Paolo Banchero can be all that. And look, we could say what we want to say, and say his role with Team USA in the World Cup was smaller, obviously, than it would be for for the Magic. And I would imagine his role would expand, but Paolo gained so much from the World Cup experience, from the Team USA experience. He can fit in wherever that team needs him. And obviously they have imbued him with a sense of defense from the Magic. Jamal Mosley is obviously kind of imbued a defensive mentality into him that he may not have gotten otherwise. And that has helped boost his value to Team USA. Another suggestion though, but just, even if Paolo Banchero doesn't make the Olympic team, another suggestion popped up on my Twitter feed that I just felt like it was worth exploring and discussing a little bit like worth a vibe check on. If you don't know, this is the second Olympics. I believe it's the second Olympics. Maybe it's the third, where 3-on-3 basketball is being competed, is one of the competitions. And 3-on-3 basketball started on Tuesday. It is, if you haven't watched 3-on-3 basketball, it is a blast. It is super fast paced. It's half court to 21, just like your traditional 3-on-3 basketball. It is a riot to watch, because obviously there's so much space on the floor in 3-on-3. You get a little bit more of that one-on-one action that the U.S. are supposed to be good at. A lot of teams don't send like NBA level players to this. The U.S. women's 3-on-3 team has WNBA players. Cameron Brink was supposed to be on that team. They got some WNBA players on there. But the men's team does not have NBA players. Jimmer Fredette is kind of the linchpin guy for the 3-on-3 team. I believe they did take a bad loss to Serbia in their opening round. But the 3-on-3 basketball competition is one of the competitions I've been looking forward to at the Olympics. It is a riot. And someone suggested that Paolo Banchero would be perfect for 3-on-3. And if you watch these games, it is obviously not a traditional court. It's a little bit more fast-paced. You got to be able to pick up in the half court. You got to get that clear line. You're not going full court. There's a lot more space on the floor to operate. If Paolo Banchero is not going to be on the senior men's national team in 2028, he should put in to be on the 3-on-3 team, because having a versatile guy who can guard both on the perimeter and in the paint, can beat up on smaller players and attack bigger players. Someone who thrives in one-on-one situations. The kind of shots everyone criticizes Paolo Banchero for are the kind of shots you get in 3-on-3 basketball. A guy like Paolo would be perfect for 3-on-3. And again, maybe that doesn't help us much for the Magic, but he would be perfect in that scenario, in that situation, that setting. And we all just want to see, we want to see the U.S. win gold. Like I think that's fair. I would love to see NBA players take a stab at 3-on-3. It is a different style of game. It is a very different game. Getting on the same page with your teammates is still a big deal and obviously a big challenge with so little prep time. But Paolo is that kind of player. And Paolo should be a centerpiece for Team USA moving forward. Again, in 4 years, by 2028 for the Olympics, Paolo should be, if we're checking the trajectory, in 4 years, Paolo should be an all-NBA player. He should be on a championship contending Magic team. And that should be the gateway to get him on the senior men's national team and playing in the Olympics and representing the U.S. in Los Angeles. We'll see how that goes. Since we're talking about Paolo, though, and ways that the Magic need to improve, let's talk about one area of the offense the Magic have to be better at that is completely within their control. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. So obviously at the top of the show, we talked about the biggest way that Franz Wagner can get better, can improve, and really what the Magic absolutely need Franz Wagner to do, and that is to make more three-pointers. Three-point shooting is obviously a major concern for the entire roster, but I would argue Orlando is not far from being an average offense. I don't want to say good offense, an average offense. And so much of what Orlando needs to do to escape the bottom 10 in offensive rating, which they have not done since Dwight Howard was here. So much of what the Magic need to do is completely within their control. To me, that is the biggest point I can make. That so much of what the Magic need to do is within their power. And that starts with the biggest area that Paolo actually needs to improve on. It's not his mid-range shooting. It's not his three-point shooting. He needs to be a better free throw shooter. And in fact, the Magic as a whole need to be better free throw shooters. It's something I think some of us overlook and something I think some of us don't really consider. But if there's one area where the Magic were one of the best teams offensively, the one offensive stat where they led the league, they did lead the league, was in free throws. The Magic led the league with a 28.7% free throw rate. That means they went to the line nearly they took 3 free throw attempts for every 10 field goal attempts. In the playoffs, they were at 29.9. The Magic know how to get to the line, and so much of that is Paolo Banchero. But despite getting to the line so much, the Magic were 26th in the league, making only 75.9% of their free throws. The Magic, in fact, missed 5.9 free throw attempts per game. They missed 6 free throw attempts per game. That's 6 points left on the board. And obviously, you're not expecting to get all 6 of those points. But let's take back half of them. 3 more points per game. Just 3 more points per game could be the difference between finishing 22nd in the league in offensive rating and 16th or 17th. That could be the difference between beating the Charlotte Hornets that one game, beating the Sacramento Kings in overtime, the 10 missed free throws that the Magic had in game 1 of their series against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Free throws are a big deal. They missed 11 free throws actually in game 1 against the Cavs, including a 4 for 8 showing from Paolo Banchero. The Magic actually had several games where they missed more than 10 free throws. They went 8 for 18 in a February loss to the Atlanta Hawks, game that was close until the middle of the third quarter. That was a weird back-to-back. They were 11 for 21 in that loss to the Golden State Warriors when they left. That was a big win left on the board. They were 19 for 33 in that close loss to the LA Clippers that came right after it. Orlando had 10 games where they missed 10 or more free throws. And that's not always decisive. They went 30 for 40 from the foul line in a game against the Knicks. They shoot enough volume where sometimes they can absorb that. But Orlando had 20 games shooting worse than 70% from the foul line and 9 games shooting 65% or worse from the foul line. The Magic went 3-6 in those 9 games. These are points left on the board. If you shoot a little bit better from the foul line, that's 2, maybe 3, that's 2 more wins perhaps. You take 2 of those games off. Now you're 3-4. That's acceptable. 2 more wins gets you the 2 seed. We're talking about such narrow margins between where the Magic want to be and where they ended up last year. We're talking about likely a playoff chase that's going to come down to game 82. I want to stress that again. I'm going to completely stress. You're going to be annoyed with how much I'm stressing this point. The season's going to come down to game 82. The Magic, it'll be just like last year where the Magic win, they're the 5 seed, they lose, they're the 8 seed. It's going to happen again this year. It's going to be a tight race, and every win, every close loss, every bad day is going to have consequences. And that includes every missed free throw. The margins are so small that if you can improve your free throw shooting just a little bit, if you can be 20, if you can lead the league in free throw rate and be 20th or 15th in free throw percentage, that could be 2 more wins. I'm not joking. That could be 2 more wins, and 2 more wins gets you home court advantage in the playoffs. 2 more wins gets you the 3 seed, the 2 seed. That's the narrow margin that we're talking about. And we're talking about such narrow margins, everything is important. And obviously, Banchero is the first place to start with all this because he generates so many free throw attempts. Banchero averaged 7 free throw attempts per game last year. That was 11th in the league overall. But among those 11 players, only Giannis shot worse from the foul line. Banchero made only 72.5% of his free throws in a game. He missed an average of 1.9 free throw attempts per game. Now, that's not crazy. Going 5 for 7, though, that adds up. And again, we're talking about the narrowest of margins. And if if the guy who's making the most free throws is missing free throws, that puts pressure on everyone else who make free throws. Every Cole Anthony free throw hurt. Every Franz Wagner free throw hurt because you knew you needed all of those free throws because Paolo was going to miss free throws. The same thing happened when Dwight Howard was here, by the way. The Magic led the league in free throw rate with Dwight Howard. He was taking the bulk of those free throws. Magic were the worst in free throw attempts and free throw percentage. Because of that, he was taking the majority of free throws, and he kind of took whatever he could give you. But every time Jameer missed a free throw, it hurt even more. When Vince missed a free throw, when Hito missed a free throw, when Rashard missed a free throw, good free throw shooters, you could feel the sting of those misses because you knew your heavy free throw shooter was missing free throws. And look, Paolo's not out there like shooting 40% from the foul line. Giannis is a worse free throw shooter, for instance. But because the Magic have such a bad offense or didn't have a consistent offense, that hurt. That stuff stings. That stuff adds up. And so when you're looking for ways for instance, for Paolo Banchero to be better, to shoot a little bit better, to be more efficient, to get that true shooting percentage up, which is a stat that everyone who likes to criticize Paolo likes to point to. Making free throws will help. He's going to get to the line anyway. Take those free points. For a Magic team that is playing with such narrow margins, free throws matter. And look, there are plenty of things that the Magic have to do to be better offensively. Making 3-point shots. We talked endlessly about that at the start of the show. That's a big one. Reducing turnovers is an absolutely critical one. The Magic were among the bottom 10 teams in the league in turnover rate. They turned the ball over a lot. They forced a lot of turnovers. They made up for it that way. But remember, I would always, when I said the stats I look at when I get my box score at the end of the game, I look at points in the paint and I look at points off turnovers. Those were two big stats that were usually indicative of what the Magic were able to do during the game. This team turned the ball over a lot. That's something that is also within their control. But free throw shooting is another critical thing. If the Magic become a better free throw shooting team, if they flirt with top 10 and free throw percentage with the amount of times that they get to the line, that makes them such a significantly more difficult team to face. Because as much as everyone said that fouls were down after the All-Star break, and they were down even for the Magic were still among the league leaders in getting to the foul line. They were so physical. They chased after you so much that they forced contact. They forced you to foul them. Now they just got to make the free throws. And that is a big factor that I think we have to look at and the Magic have to be better at if they want to take the next step this season. You got to control what you can control. And there's nothing, you can't control whether you're going to get to the foul line. That's still based on the whistle. But when you get there, you got to make them. And that's something the Magic did not do enough last year. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all Filmy Stone podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And as always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, be sure to check out the Locked On NBA podcast. There's no offseason in the NBA, and Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and entertained as Locked On NBA, available on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On our next episode, I promised we would do this today. New idea popped up, so I pushed it back. We'll talk a little bit about those awards odds that I mentioned earlier in the FanDuel read. We'll talk about where the Magic stand and which awards the Magic can actually win. We'll get to that on a future episode of Locked On Magic. Maybe our next one, maybe not. We'll find out. But we'll get to that on a future episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman, right? We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.